I think we're still waiting for Carl.
He's just came. I just let him in. He'll be
Okay,
coming
very
up in a
good.
minute.
Very good. Got him. See you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joanne.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we are all set, Arnie. You can call us to order.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hang on one quick second here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 2nd, 2008 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open with the roll call. Ms. Hostetter.
Here.
Mr. Fiocchio.
Here.
Mr. Sylvain.
Here.
Mr. Renz is absent. Is Mr. Haas here?
Yes.
Mr. Haas is here and Chairman Finaldi is here. Do I need to seat an alternate?
Yeah, you should see Kevin for the vacant seat.
Yeah, Kevin, I will appoint alternate Kevin Haas to the vacant seat this evening. Kevin, thank you. My agenda. Commission members, the minutes of the October 19th, 2022 meeting were previously distributed. Unless there's any comments on those minutes, I will entertain a motion to accept them.
So moved. Helen.
Second, Bob.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are accepted. Let the record show our next regular meeting is scheduled for November 16th, 2022. Before we proceed to our first public hearing this evening, I will read the virtual meeting intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the interested parties continue to have an opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches sometimes do occur. Please be patient if that happens. We are going to move right to our first and only public hearing this evening. Number one, Lostacco Brothers Federal Road LLC, property owner BUDR Hartford Holding LLC, applicant. Application for special exception, site plan approval for cannabis retailer in the CG20 zone, 108 Federal Road, L09024, special exception number 789. And I will at this time read the legal notice. Legal notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider the following matter. Lostacco Brothers Federal Road LLC, property owner, BUDR Hartford Holding LLC, applicant. Application for special exception site plan approval for cannabis retailer in the CG20 zone, 108 Federal Road, L09024, special exception for 789. A copy of this application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office for public inspection. Parties and interested citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. Agenda to be posted will include instructions on how to access the Zoom meeting and application materials and view the meeting in real time on YouTube, and if necessary, we'll note a change in the location of the meeting to council chambers in Danbury City Hall located at 155 Deer Hill Avenue, Danbury, Connecticut. Arnold E. Finaldi Jr., Chairman, posted on the city website and town clerk's office on October 13th, 2022. Published in the News Times on October 21st and October 28th, 2022, purchase order number 2022-174.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, before you announce the public hearing, I just wanted you to clarify, there is another, you'd said that this is the only public hearing tonight, and it's not true. We have the continuation of 2 Yield Road. So I just, for the people on the call, I just want them to know that we're also hearing that after the first item on the agenda.
That is correct. So we have one new public hearing and one continued public hearing.
Correct.
So that is technically correct. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you.
Commission members, several pieces of information that apply to this application were previously distributed. The site special exception, site plan applications, the maps, site renderings, the traffic study, and the combined departmental staff reports. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Attorney Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name's Tom Beecher and I represent Butter Hartford Holding LLC. With me this evening are Carl Torella and Derek Gibbs, both are principals of Butter Hartford Holding LLC. Also Jim Bubaris, who's our traffic engineer, John Malozzi, who's our engineer, and Stephen Hambrecht, who's our architect. And I also see that Mr. Losacco has joined us tonight as well. The state of Connecticut has made the decision to allow retail sales of cannabis. And the City of Danbury Zoning Commission has adopted regulations to allow it as well. This is a new age and this is a new type of use. My client is seeking a special exception for the use of this property as a cannabis retailer. We are proceeding under these relatively new zoning regulations, and obviously as a new use, we all want to get it right. It's important to note that this use is also regulated by the state of Connecticut, as I'm sure you're well aware. The Danbury zoning regulations permit a combination of one retailer and one hybrid, amongst others, but for purposes of tonight, it's important. A hybrid is a combination of retail and medical cannabis sales. And as you can see from your agenda, the botanist filed an application for approval as a hybrid cannabis facility. So I just want to make it clear from a zoning regulation standpoint, my client and the botanist can coexist. And from a geography standpoint, these two locations are on opposite sides of the city of Danbury. Mr. Torella spent a lot of time looking for an appropriate property for this proposed facility. As this commission knows, the regulation has numerous distance requirements that must be satisfied for a site. As required by the zoning regulations and state law, my client received a provisional license to operate from the state in September. And we filed that with our application. As you might guess, we need a physical location approval in order to file an application for our final license. As stated in the staff report, this location does comply with all the distance requirements. This site is a good location for this use. The property is located in the CG20 zone, which is one of only 2 zones in the city of Danbury where cannabis establishments are permitted. This is on Federal Road, which is a combination of commercial and industrial uses along Federal Road. And Federal Road is an arterial street. I-84 and the various I-84 ramps are behind this property. And so that I-84 corridor and the ramps serves as a major buffer between this site on Federal Road and the nearest residential area closest to this property. We've all had a chance to review the staff report and some other reports that we've received this week. And there's a punch list of items that we need to address. So we'll take tonight to introduce you to the project and cover a lot of the bases. And then we'll come back with additional information as requested in a couple of weeks. The site itself was once occupied by Durant's Construction Rentals. This property is over 1/2 acre. There's 26 parking spaces on the site, which is more than double what's required for our use pursuant to the zoning regulations. The site is also served by city water and sewer. This property happens to be located between two signalized traffic intersections.
Tom, there's some noise.
It's Ben Chianese. Ben, turn your microphone off. I can mute him. Okay.
I'm sorry, Attorney Beecher, proceed.
This property is located between two signalized traffic intersections, one at the intersection of International Drive and Federal Road, which is where the 7-Eleven is located next door to this property. And the other is the traffic intersection at Federal Road and White Turkey Extension. Federal Road along this stretch of Federal Road is perfectly straight, so sight lines are more than adequate for this particular site. And I don't want to steal all of Jim Bubaras's presentation, but the operational analysis for this site is also very good. This site will operate at a level of service A for traffic going into the site at all peak times except the Saturday morning peak, when it dips slightly to a level of service B. Getting out of the site is level of service D for the afternoon and Saturday peak times, and it's better at level of service C for the weekday morning peak. As a practical matter, with the intersection at White Turkey being signalized, there will always be a window of opportunity to make a right-hand turn out of this driveway. If you look at Rob Barone's photo looking north toward White Turkey intersection, that is part of his construction services report, you can see that there were no vehicles on Federal Road going southbound toward our driveway when that photo was taken. So this photo illustrates one of those windows so easily, where it illustrates that it's so easy to exit the site when that window or gap happens. The city traffic engineer in his report also stated that based upon his field observations, the existing signal phasing is expected to provide adequate gaps for the traffic entering and exiting the site. And remember, this trip generation analysis and the results that come from using the required formula and looking at worst case scenarios. That, of course, is what the experts are supposed to do, and that's what this commission is supposed to do. But Mr. Torella would be ecstatic if this store generated 500 trips per day. Carl, based on your experience and research, after the novelty wears off when you first open this store, how many customers would you realistically envision having on an average day?
Hi, everybody. Carl Torella, 7 Forest Ridge Road, Nyack, New York. We would average anywhere from 250 to 300 a day.
Thanks, Carl. And as I said, Jim Bubaras is our traffic engineer. And Jim, this is probably a good time. Why don't you go through your report and your conclusions for the commission? If you're there.
He's on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can you see me?
No,
You can't see me. I don't know why that is. Because my screen doesn't show me showing up, but let's see, start my video. Let's try this. It says cannot start. All right, well, I'll talk. I'm here. We did the site traffic evaluation study that's dated September 30th, 2022. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Jim Bubaras. I'm a principal in Bubaras Traffic Associates. We're traffic engineering consultants located in Wallingford, Connecticut. We have done two studies. The one you probably have in your hands is the second one, which is the full study, and that's the one that's dated September 30th, 2022, and which is labeled Site Traffic Evaluation Study. And what we did, given that Federal Road is a state highway, we first went to the DOT, the Connecticut DOT, to see what they had in the way of data sources for volumes, traffic volumes in the area. The reason we do that is we're still coming out of the COVID situation. So traffic volumes on streets throughout throughout the nation, but in particular Connecticut, have not resumed the levels that they had before. So when we do studies, and we're required to do this per DOT requirements, when we do studies, we always look for the DOT data for the area if it's available. And we then use the data, not that's the closest to now, but that's older than now, because it should be before the COVID hit in 2020. So the data we use to make our assessment in the traffic study is from prior, when the COVID situation was not here. So the volumes are higher than you probably see out there today, and that you'll probably see in a long time if you see them again. Now, as was stated, the site for this property is located about midway between, on the west side of Federal Road, about midway between the signalized intersection to the north at White Turkey Road Extension and the signalized intersection to the south at International Drive. And as was stated, these two signals happen to gap the traffic that moves by the site on Federal Road, both northbound and southbound. So it gives you some opportunities to both enter and exit the site. So that's a plus. First thing we did was, after we looked at the volumes and established the base that we're evaluating, we then made an estimate on trip generation. And based on the Institute of Traffic Engineers trip generation manual, we're required by your regulations to use land use code number 8A2. And that category is called marijuana dispensaries. And based on the size of the building, and you have to use the whole building, irrespective of how it's broken down in uses within the building. You have to use the whole footprint of the building. When this, in this case, is 1,949 gross floor area, and use that as the independent variable. We then used that, and we came up with estimates of 500 trips per day. And I see that there's a little bit of confusion as to what the 500 means. From what Carl just said, he expects on a good day, if it really worked pretty well, that you'd get 250 customers. Well, the 500 trips per day estimate is 250 customers, because the trips represent a customer driving in and driving out. So each customer generates 2 trips. So when we're estimating that the weekday usage of the site will be 500 trips per day, that means it's anticipated that it will generate 250 customers. So we need to get that out there and make it clear. We're not talking about there being 500 customers. We're talking about 250 customers, each generating 2 trips, an inbound trip and an outbound trip, that equal 500 trips per day. So we took that number, the 500 trips per day, we kind of came up with the different values for the peak hours over the course of a day. And we looked at a weekday during the AM peak, we looked at a weekday during the PM peak, and we looked at a Saturday during its peak. And we looked not at the peaks of when the roadway itself peaks, but when the facility will peak, because the combined scenario would be higher than if you look at just the peak hour of the day when the normal commuter traffic peaks. We then evaluated everything, and we came up with levels of service, which is our traffic operation summary of the analysis we did. And I'm sure you've all been through this before. Levels of service are rated based on the amount of delay, the average delay experienced by the traffic traveling through a given intersection, are based on the average delay. The delay is the factor. And they vary from level of service A to level of service F. And it's just like school. What we've come up with is that the movements into the site during the AM and PM and the Saturday peaks from the south, in other words, the left turn, will vary from an A to a B. That's considered excellent to very good. The right turn movement into the site, which is the movement from the north, that will, during the AM, PM, and Saturday peaks, that'll vary. That will not vary. It'll all be an A, which means it's excellent. And the outbound movements will vary from a C, which is considered good, to a D. It'd be a C during the AM peak, a D during the PM peak, and a D during the Saturday peak. And those are considered very good levels of service in this day and age, particularly that Federal Road is a state highway, and as you, I'm sure, all know, carries a significant amount of traffic. So the levels of service would be quite good. It won't have an adverse impact. And as was mentioned both by me and Mr. Beecher, the signals that are located one on each side of the intersection of the site will help to gap the traffic that drives Federal Road and create opportunities to travel in and out of the site. We then looked at the sight lines that are available from the site drive, and we measured that you have at least 425 feet in either direction. And why am I mentioning 525 feet? It's because the posted speed limit on Federal Road is 35 miles an hour. And again, from information provided by the DOT, by Connecticut DOT, the 85th percentile from studies, speed studies that they've done on Federal Road shows that the 85th percentile is 34 miles per hour. At 34 miles per hour, which is what you use the 85th percentile speed to determine what speed value, what sight line you need to obtain. It requires 415 feet for that speed. And what I said we have is, I know you have at least 425 feet in either direction, because that's what we measured. We then looked at the traffic crash history for the area, looked at the signalized intersections to the north and to the south and to the site drive. And we looked at the most recent 3-year period, again, from data that's compiled by the DOT and is kept as a data source by the University of Connecticut. And the traffic crash history showed none for the site drive, by the way, although I don't know how long the site that was there, the use that was there before has not been there. In other words, how long has the property been vacant? It shows none for the last 3 years for the site drive. And it shows a history for the two signalized intersection that doesn't have anything that stands out as being a problem, nor that needs any kind of attention. And nor do I think that adding the traffic that will be generated by this facility, that it will in any way exacerbate that excellent traffic crash history for the study area. So therefore, my conclusion is that there's no indication that there are any improvements needed in order to accommodate this site. And then I have a conclusion page in my report, but I'll just give you a summary of the conclusions. Number one, there should not be an adverse impact on traffic operations because of this use. The use will generate something in the magnitude of 500 trips per day. Again, that's 250 trips traveling in, 250 trips traveling out, which represents 250 customers. It will generate site traffic in the magnitude of 59 trips per peak hour on a weekday and about 72 trips per peak hour on a Saturday. Again, that's a two-way number. It represents the inbound and the outbound. The traffic crash experience shows no recurring situation that requires any kind of accommodation, nor that will be exacerbated by the proposed development. And the sight lines to and from the site were found to be satisfactory. So that's my presentation in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have it.
Commission members, any questions for Mr. Bubaris at this time? Anybody? Not at the moment, so it's all yours, Attorney Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The existing building is a block building, which in my opinion is a good thing because it adds to the potential security of the building and what's inside. The state of Connecticut has some specific requirements for cannabis establishment and within the building. And of course, that includes the vault that's shown on the floor plan. We're going to be making some changes to the floor plan and revising our renderings of the building in response to the staff comments. We will, for instance, have an interior access to the restroom. The windows on the south side, which face the 7-Eleven store, will remain, but I just wanted to clarify that that wall is the solid wall for the vault behind those windows on that particular side. So the windows will just be faux windows, so to speak, and will not have access to the interior of the building. We're going to add more detail to the security plan document, the maintenance document, and the odor information document. But I asked Carl if he could cover some of that information tonight. Carl, can you explain to the commissioners how your building, as renovated inside, complies with these state requirements for a cannabis establishment, and also run through how your sales and operation would work and the site and building security?
Thank you, Tom. Jen, do I have access to share the screen?
Joanne can provide that for you.
You're set. Go ahead, Carl.
Thank you, Joanne. Can everyone see the floor plan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we can, yeah.
Great, thank you. So as you can see, this is our proposed floor plan, and as Tom said, this will change slightly based on comments from staff. Consumers will enter the right side of the building here, and this is where IDs will be checked because you need to be of age in order to enter a recreational facility in the state of Connecticut. Consumers will then be queued up and ready to enter the retail dispensary, where we will have personnel behind the counters ready to process their orders. A key thing to note here is that we aim to have 70 to 80% of our orders done through pre-orders or through our online e-commerce platform, because that will enable us to control traffic to and from the facility. For anybody that comes through walk-in, they will enter the same way as a pre-order. They will just go up to the counter in order to process their order. With that being said, our personnel would then go to the state-approved vaults and grab their product and come out and process their order. As Tom said, the vault is required by state, and we have to store all of our cannabis in here daily, and it cannot leave until it's processed to the consumers. After the customer's transaction is processed, they will then leave the facility and out to the parking lot. It is important to note that our surveillance system, which is also state approved, will have recorded the entire visit, and we're required to hold 30 days of footage per state regulations. Lastly, there will be security roaming the premises, both interior and exterior, in order to ensure the safety of both our customers and our employees. That being said, I would love to answer any operational questions that you may have around the cannabis facility.
Commission members, anything for Mr. Torella at this time? And I can't see everybody, so you'll have to speak up. But I guess not. I guess the floor plan speaks for itself. Back to you, Attorney Beecher.
Well, Carl, while you're still on with this, can you just also confirm, and we'll be showing it on a plan to be provided, but confirm that there will, in addition to the cameras, be cameras on the exterior of the site as
Correct.
well as inside?
There'll be cameras on the interior and exterior of the site, and it will be visible to all of our parking lot as well as the interior, and proper lighting per state regulations, both interior and exterior.
Thank you. Steve Hambrick, did you want to add anything about the site or the building?
Hello, Stephen Hambrecht. I'm the architect on the project of Hambrecht Olson Design. No, I think Carl covered it. I think he mentioned that we will be modifying the drawing to respond to the staff comments, but Carl covered it.
Okay.
No additional comments. Thanks.
Thank you. This facility is going to be open during the hours that are permitted by the zoning regulations, which is Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. With respect to the site itself, we will add the requested sidewalk to the plans and revise the driveway in accordance with the comment from the city traffic engineer and from construction services, as well as in the staff report. There are some other changes we are going to make and items that we will address, such as agreeing to fix any section of the chain link fence along the periphery of the property. Other than if you have any questions for us with respect to the site, I think we'll wait to discuss the overall site plan until we make those changes and come back. John Malazzi is here tonight and answer any questions you might have right now, but I really don't want to go through the plan twice when we're going to make some changes to it to conform to many of the requests. So that's really all we have this evening, unless, like I said, there's any questions for anybody on it.
Commission members, anything for Attorney Beecher or any of the presenters at this time? Hearing none, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I know there's a lot of people. Before we get to the opposition, Tom, do you think you can bring up the photo simulation for the commission?
The renderings?
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So although not mentioned in our staff report, I think, and I'm posing this to the planning commission, if the color scheme, the green and the brown is something that is consistent with Federal Road, and if that's, again, it seems a little out of place along that portion of Federal Road. So that would be the staff's, one of the concerns, although not noted in the staff report, would be the color scheme that was chosen. And if it's possible, if they could tone that down a bit and have something that's a bit more consistent with Federal Road.
Jen, I'll speak to that. And yes, it's possible that we tone it down. And yes, it's possible that we change the colors altogether to be more conform with Federal Road. And we will have that submitted to you kind of in the next week or so. So
that's fine. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Jen. And Jen, thanks also for distributing the copy of section 3C4 for everybody. That's still very new. And it's a good idea to keep that in mind as we hear these new applications. So thank you for that as well. I did not call the opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Members, as Jennifer mentioned, I think she mentioned, we're not in any position to close this public hearing this evening. We're waiting for quite a few things. Obviously, the applicant still wants to do more of the presentation. I believe we're waiting for the police report. Anything else, Jen, are we waiting for?
Off the top of my head, I think it's just we're waiting to hear from the chief of police. I can't remember if we have fire marshal or not, but it's, really we'd like to see that report from the chief of police.
Okay.
So my suggestion would be to keep it open.
Fair enough. One last time, commission members, any questions for the applicant at this time? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until our next meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Motion made and seconded to continue this public hearing until our next meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter will be continued until our next meeting on November 16th. Thank you, everybody, for your.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. And with that, that was the only item under our public hearing agenda. We'll move right to the continuation of public hearing agenda. Item 1, Ye Old Road LLC, application for special exception site plan approval for proposed commercial building for storage of building materials and construction equipment and outdoor storage of building materials and construction equipment, sections 3E4, 6A2B14, 6A2B15 in the IL 40 zone, 2 Ye Old Road, E17066, special exception 770. Commission members, the engineering department report was distributed, as well as video submitted by
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
excuse me, I just want to make the commission aware that I have read last meeting's minutes. I have read all the documentation and materials and watched the video as well so that I can participate and vote on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry, and even thank you for letting us know. And Kevin will continue to be seated as a member through the vacant seat as well. But thank you for letting me know. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Dinas.
Yes, good evening. For the record, Dinas Verbicus, professional engineer with Artel Engineering Group in Brookfield, Connecticut, here on behalf of the applicant for the continuation of a public hearing for 2 Ye Old Road. And at the conclusion of the meeting several weeks back, there were comments made from the public, and I opted to wait until this meeting, the continuation, to respond to them. And just wanted to let the commission know also that we are in receipt, I believe, of all city review comments. So we will be updating our drawings accordingly. I don't imagine much changes, but points of clarification and such. But we'll get to that at I hope, a continuation to the next meeting. But that having been said, I thought that perhaps I might just kind of go one by one on some of the comments that were made. I know a big point of concern was the location of the school or possible school if the land is purchased and if the zone is changed and such, and its proximity to this site. And I thought first I might share with the commission a bit of information from that standpoint, and then we'll get into some videos which I've now learned how to run on the Zoom meeting, and I'll share with you as many or as few as you like. I don't know if anyone has had an opportunity to view the videos that were shared, but just the same, I'll go through some of them until you cry uncle. So if I may share a screen, is that possible? Okay, I see a nod, yes. So I'm going to there. Does everyone see that?
No.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Right now, that's the proposed zone change or the vicinity or location map on the zone change map for the
Dinas,
proposed
it's-
school. Yes.
It's not showing. Did you hit share?
I thought I did, but I will hit it again.
Try again.
Come on.
It worked when you did your test run earlier.
There you
Is this
go.
There it is.
There we go.
All
Ta-da.
right.
I get a cookie at the end of this. So yeah, what Jennifer was kind enough to share with me was the proposed zone change map, and I've zoomed into the location map of that proposed zone change, and you'll note that this section right in here that says IL 40 is currently the Cardis site, with the building primarily being on the right portion of the of this blobbed out area, and then the overflow parking, or a lot of parking, is on the left portion of that. And our site is located some 800 feet away. If we go from this nearest point to the nearest point on our property, which is kind of where the R is in Ridge, we're about 800 feet away from that. And of course, there's, you know, this school itself, or school campus, will be still surrounded by IL 40 property to a large extent. So I just wanted to point out that even though it seemed like things were going to be real close, they aren't. Not close at all. So I thought just bring that to the commission's attention. And then if I can, I'll just go into an aerial photo, which may help. Did that transfer over smoothly?
No.
Not able to see that picture?
No, it's still on
No.
the zone change map.
Oh. I'll get to it yet. Oh, here we go. How's that?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Phew. Okay, so our site at 2 Ye Old Road is located where I'm kind of circling the pointer. And then the Cardis site, or the zone change itself, will be from about this portion on Apple Ridge Road. So again, pretty well removed from that. Of course, you've got this Hologic building located between our proposed site and the perhaps future school campus, and then you've got this building as well. So we're pretty well distant and shielded from the school itself. And now, if I may, I'm going to try and start sharing some of these videos, if I may, and let's see how this works. So I've got it. Has that popped up on your screen yet?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Terrific. So this is just one of the many examples that we have of the actual trucks from Hat City driving up and down Ye Old Road in its current condition. And in this particular video, we happen to have it timed just by happenstance when a delivery truck is leaving the Hamar Laser site, which is located across the street. So I'll just set this in motion. It may be a little jittery, but it gets the point across. Here you've got two vehicles traveling in either direction and clearly passing. Now I want to note that on this particular video, the road is about 21 feet wide. And that's as wide as it's going to get in this portion of Ye Old Road. And that limit was established by the development that took place at 43 Kenosha, which is just on the left side of this rock wall. I'm going to see if I can't get into some of these other videos. Now, has the screen changed for you folks?
Yes.
Okay, so this is now, you'll see a truck turning into Ye Old Road from Kenosha as things straighten up on the video. So again, this is the first vehicle turning in. This is going to the site across the street from us. And now here comes our pumper truck, also turning into the road. And traveling pretty much without any issue or any excitement. Now I'll get into perhaps some other videos. And you'll note it's tight, but doable with plenty of space on all sides of all vehicles.
So Dinus, this is Arnie. So this video demonstrates toward the end of the road, Ye Old Road near Kenosha, if you have 21 feet width, the two trucks can pass each other. Now you're going to be widening farther up the road. Is it at any point on Ye Old after widening, is it narrower than 21 feet?
So yes, it does get narrower once you get beyond our property frontage. But what we're proposing with our application is to start a taper from that 21 feet up to 22 feet as we squeak in just to our property frontage at the beginning of our property frontage or nearest to Kenosha Avenue. And then once we've gone into our frontage, we have the luxury of being able to grant a bit of our land to the city so that we can widen the road out up to 24 feet along for the majority of our frontage. And then, of course, once our frontage runs out, we have to transition gently back down to the existing road width, which is about 21 feet at the northwest portion of our site. And I can show some more videos if you like. I've got some videos of trucks leaving the property if you want me to kind of jump to that. But here now you'll see this truck actually leaving from the northwestern, or yeah, I guess excuse me, southwestern portion of the site and driving away. So I mean, you basically saw it drive through the narrowest section in our frontage, which currently exists, which we will be widening out to 24 feet. And you know, right now, as it exists, that bit of road is about 17 feet wide. So, you know, however often the deliveries come and go to our neighbor across the street, it's clearly possible and physically possible to accomplish that task and has been for years. And our trips will be similar in nature, however, likely not as frequent as one would think, because the number of trucks are limited and the timing of the business is such that the trucks generally leave the area by 7 o'clock. So we're trying to establish that, that the road works as it is and will continue to work, for us.
Dinus,
I'm sorry,
you
Mr. Finaldi.
have a question from Mr. Kiokio. Go ahead, Bob.
Sure. Diane, you could leave that photo up at the moment. So I'm just, I just want to confirm and maybe you can kind of go through it again just to verify as far as the width of the road. So what I heard currently, starting at Kenosha, coming down Yield Road, it currently is 21 feet wide where we saw the truck enter. And
Correct.
that portion of the road will not change. But once you get to your property line and all along your frontage, you will widen the road to approximately 24 feet.
That is correct. That's correct.
So the narrowest will be at the entrance towards Kenosha at 21 feet and 24 feet along your property. I noticed there's some trees right along the property or the road and some telephone poles. Will those be moved or are those going to be right on the road? Because that seems like that could possibly hamper the road width as well. Can you kind of give a little information about that?
Yeah, trees and utility poles do make travel interesting regardless where you are. But yes, the intention is, I'm not sure if I can point on the picture or not. Can you see me circling?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this is the utility pole or utility poles in question. It is our intention to ask the utility company to remove one of the old pole and relocate the new pole about 4 feet back from its current position. And that'll provide us the room necessary to widen out to the 22 feet.
Yep. And so when the road is widened, I assume it's all going to be widened on your property. Because I did notice there on the opposite side of the road, there's also another telephone pole or utility pole that's right at the edge of the roadway as well. Is there any plans to have that moved at all, or that's not on your property so you can't? Or
yeah, that we have no intention of moving that. I think I see where you're see where the utility pole is located, but at that location, what we're proposing is to just put in some curbing because I believe that there is a lack of curbing at that location, and we'll be widening just a smidge, maybe a foot and a half on the opposite side of the road in the vicinity of where there's another contractor's yard that's been there for a number of years now. And a poor guy passed away. And I'm not sure but yeah, that would be, the widening would be kind of in this location. Generally. And again, only about a foot. That'll allow us to get that 24 feet along our property frontage.
okay, thank you.
Okay. And I'm not sure, would you like to see additional videos? I've got them. Can I take a vote of the commission or?
It's your show, Dinus. You make the decision.
I got popcorn here for everybody.
But I mean, yeah, I have no objection to you showing those videos, Dinus, because like that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole application as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, okay. So again, we'll go through one by one. I think I've shown 3 videos now. This is the one I showed you first. Sorry about that. Now that that's done, I'll try not to repeat anymore. Again, here's a video of somebody leaving the site, just a standard van, and then 2 trucks from Hat City passing side by side. Again, in a 21-foot wide section of road, clearly physically possible without any excitement at all. Here's a pumper truck now turning in from Kenosha. I know that there are some questions, of how the trucks are able to turn in, turn out, and such. And so that's that, and just a couple more, and then we'll go to something a little maybe more exciting. And here's another truck entering into the site. I'd like to note that from that direction, as the truck was turning in, Kenosha Avenue is about 30 feet wide, but as you continue on Kenosha in the easterly direction, Kenosha does narrow down to about 25 feet wide. So the trucks approaching, all vehicles approaching here are not really traveling on exceedingly wide roads. Everything is pretty much the same. There's a video of a truck leaving the site. Again, and that's under existing conditions, and it's again anywhere from 17 to 18 feet wide in this section of road. So we will be seeing quite a big increase there. And we'll get one more into this, and then we'll cut out to something more. So here's just the ability of trucks passing one another. Should there be a truck stalled out or parked on the side of the road, again, can easily bypass without any without issue. And there we go, turning right onto Kenosha, or left onto Kenosha. So thank you for letting me share those with you. I'd like to bring up a point now. We were talking about the 21-foot width, and how we really cannot widen that. And there's a similar as a contractor's yard use that occurs on the corner of Kenosha, 43 Kenosha. So that would be as you're standing in Kenosha and looking at Ye Old Road, it would be the property that is to the left, on the left side, where that nice retaining wall was built. I'm just going to share a little snippet of the site plan that was prepared for that. And I had noted during the public hearing that that the vehicles leave onto Yield Road. And you can see on the site plan, as we zoom in, this is the only driveway that's specified as two-way travel for this particular parcel. And I had noted that, and I think somebody had disagreed, stating that all the trucks or vehicles leave onto Kenosha through the other driveway, which, again, according to the site plan, was inbound only. So just a point of clarification on that. I've got some other aerial photos, but we've shown those, I think, to the degree where everyone understands. There was a comment made by our neighbor who was concerned about water use. And I just wanted to point out that in our analysis, and just sharing now the site plan document. So it would be our not next door, there's neighbor, but right in this portion of Yield Road is the residential use that's currently occurring on our side of the road. And that neighbor was concerned about well water use, and based on our analysis with 10 potential employees on a given day, which is kind of a high estimate in that for the most part, we're only going to see 2 to 3 people regularly there for more than just the shift, start of the shift or start of the day or end of the day. But anyways, we analyzed it as 10 employees and at 20 gallons per day per employee, running about 200 gallons of sewage effluent going to the septic system. So on average, we're probably looking at 220 to 250 gallons a day of water usage, maximum potential. And what does that equate to? From a health code standpoint, which is basically how water usage and sewage generation is calculated, that amount of water is less than would be expected to be used from a 2-bedroom home. So I think we're the fears that our neighbor has. Although I understand it looks like a big building and it's going to be a lot of water usage, but it's not the case at all. And I wish to note that though these trucks are once on site pumping concrete, because of the concrete, you got to clean it out before it sets. So all the trucks are cleaned out at their job sites where they are pumping the concrete, so that all the fittings, all the parts, all the tubes, all the everything are whistle clean, so that equipment can function at its next job. So you're never washing the equipment or things at the site, at this office site itself. And as far as how things might look, I know we're looking at a site plan and things look pretty clean. What my client had pointed out to me is that there's a very similar type use that's occurring just down the road on Kenosha Avenue. And I thought I'd share that with you as well, just an aerial view, so you get a sense of what it might look like. So this is at 3 Kenosha, across the street from St. Peter's Cemetery. Similar type use, but the building is much smaller. And you'll note that all the trucks are parked outside. All the forms that these folks use are stored outside, and it's very similar to how this proposed operation will take place, with the exception that our big trucks and majority of trucks would be parked indoors as opposed to outdoors. And the key to a successful business, and you'll see how nice and neat everything is, So they need to keep things neat on the site for ease of transport and loading and offloading of the forms and elements associated with the business. So I just wanted to point that out as well to the commission and to all those listening. And I think that's addresses comments that were made by public. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have in addition to what I tried to relay.
Any questions for Dynas at this time, commission members? But Mr. Kiokio, go ahead.
Diane, just one last question on the water usage. So there is an on-site well, if I remember correctly. There is no public water. And the question, I guess, is it's not a shared well at all. That's the well on site is for your use only?
Correct. That's correct. And, you know, again, we'll have that well, of course, clarified, treated if necessary, certainly tested for volume and quality of the water. But again, we're waiting on some information from the health department to see what they might or might not have on this site. But they suspect not much because it's been a while since anyone's been at that location.
Yep, got it. Okay, and then one last question. Just help me with, I'm looking at this application and, you know, going down from Kenosha down Yield Road, and, you know, you first see, I guess it's an office building there on the right with some parking lot and stone wall, and you don't really see much on the left. And as you continue, there's, you know, there looks like kind of a little bit of a contractor's yard, and the road narrows, and I know you're going to widen that to 24 feet, and it gets, you know, even though it's industrial zone, it gets more residential down there, as a lot of some of the comments, public comments you heard. I'm struggling a little bit as you get to your property, and all of a sudden we're going to see a 17,000 square foot building here with, you know, 35 feet tall, which it's a pretty large building, coming into kind of, I'll call it a neighborhood, even though it's industrial zoned, and, you know, you'll have a single family home next to you. I'm just struggling a little bit. Maybe you can help me with compatibility with the neighborhood.
Sure. So by what we're proposing is where we are being compatible with the neighborhood and with the zoning.
Yeah, I get the zoning part. I get the zoning part. It just,
yep.
You know, it's the compatibility with a 17,035 square foot, 35 foot high building in this area. When you're kind of, you know, as I described, driving down the road, what you see, and then you know, on the right, you'll see your project, and just the compatibility there. It's just help me a little bit with that. How you would support that.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I would support it in the fact that the proposed use is compliant with the zoning regulations. If we didn't want to store the pallets outdoors, or not the pallets, the forms for the concrete use, we wouldn't have to come to the commission. It's an approved or an approved use in that zoning district just by site plan review. So really what we're talking about here is the ability to store our forms outdoors. That's the only difference between what we're proposing um, for the use on the site, and the difference between a site plan versus a special exception. I have spoken in the past, not recently, but I guess 3 years ago, to another person on, who has property on that road and was very interested in the outcome and was kind of rooting for us because he has industrially zoned property that he could make much more money at renting, leasing, building, so on. Once the road gets widened out, and I guess it's piece by piece by piece, and these properties all will likely turn into industrial type use as is allowed in the zoning regulations. One thing to note also is that though was a resident at the far end or at the cul-de-sac end of Ye Old Road, who would live there, I suspect most of her life, that property was sold and it's excavated out now, and there is I had seen a plan prepared for an outdoor parking facility on that property. So, in addition to what is being proposed here by our client, there is up the road already on the same side of the road another industrial type use, a permitted use, but an open parking lot. So that residential use will be, former residential use will be gone, leaving only a few residences left in the middle of an industrial zone. So, I mean, at one point in time, it was all farmland, but this is progress and bringing tax dollars to the city.
Thank you.
I hope I at least conveyed a message.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions for Dinas at this time? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Fraley has his hand up. Could you ask Dinas to stop sharing? Dinas, could you stop sharing?
Yeah, I can't see it.
Okay,
Done.
thanks.
Who was it that had their hand up?
Mr. Fraley, Austin Fraley.
Yeah, go right ahead, Mr. Fraley. Mr. Fraley, you there? Hello? Mr. Fraley, if you can hear me, you must be on mute. So we can't hear you. We'll give you the. We can't hear you.
Well, now we can't see him either.
Is he muted, Joe?
No,
He's not muted.
Not sure what to do here. We can't hear you, Mr. Fraley. Jen, we're not going to close this tonight anyway, are we?
No, Mr. Chairman, we're not going to close this tonight. And I understand Mr. Fraley's frustrations. If he wants to email me his comments, I can certainly convey those to the Planning Commission.
Oh, wait a minute, he went out. Maybe he's coming back. Let's see.
We'll give him a chance to sign back in. And Jen,
Yeah,
we're keeping it open anyway. He'll have an opportunity to speak at our next meeting.
That's correct. I just don't want to, deny him the right to speak
Oh, no.
or to have the avenue. So if he can't speak, he can certainly convey those comments, and I'll get those to the commission.
Okay,
But I
Well,
know
while we're waiting-
Mr. Kelleher also had his hand up.
Right. Mr. Kelleher had his hand up too, so maybe he can talk first.
okay, why don't you go ahead, Mr. Kelleher?
Okay, thank you, commissioners. My name's Edward Kelleher, and I'm an attorney, and I represent Daniel Laddie, who is one of the unfortunate owners of one of the residential properties up the street at 7-Ye-Olde Road and at 9-Year-Old Road. Mr. Laddie's lived there for many years, I think about 20 years at least. He lives there. His teenage daughter lives there, and every day she makes her way down to Kenosha Avenue, where she gets on a school bus. So 6:20 in the morning in the pitch dark. So as you can understand, you might understand, he's very concerned about traffic on this road. As I think all the commissioners really have recognized, is that the road is extremely narrow. It's even more narrow up where Mr. Laddie lives, a little bit up the hill, which is not part of this, but at some point that road, part of the road, will come before this commission as well. And so it's a situation which really needs to be tackled, I think, before the horse has left the barn. So he travels up and down that road every day. His daughter travels on it, his wife travels on it. It's our position, I think it's the commission's position as well, that special exceptions shouldn't be granted where they're basically, the expectation is that they would create a traffic hazard. And that's what this project does. Contrary to what the applicant's view of the video is, I think the video is honestly the best evidence of the dangerous conditions that the project poses. I'm going to try to share my screen because I have the video up, and I've just highlighted a couple of points in the video that I think demonstrate how dangerous the situation will be. So I'm going to try to share my screen now. Do I need permission to do that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, here goes. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm not able to do this. I just don't have the technical chops. But what I can bring to your attention is, and I've gone through the video a couple of times, and I would just ask the commissioners to make note of some of these points, and to kind of, maybe you'll see my observations the same way I do. At 13 seconds into the video, there's a truck turning in, traveling in the direction of the mall off of Kenosha Avenue. You'll see that truck, when it's turned into Ye-Olde Road, is entirely on the wrong side of the road. So that's right out of the gate. We've got an obviously dangerous situation to anybody going up or down that road. At 45 seconds, the trucks are passing on Ye-Olde Road with literally within feet, almost inches of one another. And I think you really can expect, if that situation were to be duplicated, I think you could expect eventually that whole line of mailboxes to be wiped out. You've got one truck, the truck coming down the hill is scrunched up against the wall, while the truck going up the hill is only about a foot from the line of mailboxes. So it really only takes one person, who's not prepared to go that close to the wall, maybe a nervous driver or something, essentially pushing the truck going up the hill further over to the right, and obviously creating a danger of a collision or danger of damage either to the wall or to the mailboxes. At 2 minutes and 35 seconds, and again at 3 minutes and 44 seconds, okay, you see video of the trucks entering from Kenosha Avenue. Again, trucks that are traveling in the direction of the mall. Those trucks slow and come to a stop practically before they go into Kenosha, before they go onto Ye-Olde Road. And the reason for that is they're swinging wide. You can see that they travel over the yellow lines. They're swinging wide in order to make that difficult turn. It's a tight turn, and that's even with the going into the wrong side of Ye Old Road. That's what they have to do in order to make that turn. So what happens then when that happens? When the trucks come and they actually are waiting for the traffic coming the other way on Kenosha Avenue to stop so that they can swing into that line of traffic in order to make a turn. Well, traffic is backed up behind them going in the direction of the mall. And impatient drivers will go around those trucks. I think that can be expected. We've all seen it. And I think that could be expected and will happen. And at 4 minutes and 40 seconds, you see the truck taking up more than half the roadway and essentially prohibiting two-way traffic on Ye Old Road. All this creates hazardous traffic conditions. It's not a situation which should be created or adopted or allowed or encouraged in any way. Development should be done safely and with the thoughts of the residents in mind. And I think the point was clearly made that there's incompatibility with the neighborhood residents. So who's put at risk here? Okay, obviously pedestrians are put at risk. If my client's daughter, teenage daughter, is walking to the school bus in the morning and she's looking at these trucks, there's an obvious danger there. If trucks are passing one another, there's no place on the road for her. There's very little place for any pedestrian. Drivers are put at risk on Kenosha Avenue, really traveling in either direction. Either they're backed up behind a truck who's preparing to make a turn, or they're coming in the other direction and they're faced with possibly a truck pulling into their lane of traffic and getting ready to make a turn. The owner of the stone wall is at risk as these trucks scrape close to that stone wall in order to pass vehicles going the other way. Emergency vehicles could have difficulty getting up to my client's house if there were any kind of stoppage on the road. There really should be weight restrictions here. This road is going to be damaged by the weight of these trucks. And this situation is only going to get worse. I was really, taken aback by the comments that the road is going to be developed over time, and that it's the price of progress. Well, I don't think the price of progress is that it should become so treacherous to the residents along that road that they can no longer live there. It is an IL-40 zone, but these are pre-existing non-conforming uses. And they're there legally, and the people who live there, they should have their rights respected. So that's essentially that's my client's position on this, or against the proposal, and urge the commission to vote it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelleher. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else in opposition? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I know Mr. Fraley is back on. I don't know if he's still having an issue with his audio.
I can't hear.
See the mask moving, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
He's
no,
trying.
he's definitely there.
What we'll do with him, Jen, is we have to keep the public hearing open anyway. We're not going to deny anyone the right to speak.
Right.
So because we have to keep it open, at the next meeting, we'll let him speak. And if excuse me.
All right, bless you. Any chance you can hear me?
There it is. Oh, please.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. I got a new microphone. I was hoping to have my neighbor speak. Is there anything else you would like to add that you're learning at? Okay. He also rents a property, and then there's children with that property too. For my own part, I would just like to say I know the special exception is only about the concrete floors, but you're really deciding the direction of the whole area with this decision. Is it going to become more residential? The school's going in. The whole logic company that he showed you between his property and where this proposed school is, that company is leaving. I know this, I used to work there and I don't have a job there anymore because of this. So eventually that site will be gone and it will be absorbed by the school as a gym. So really, again, you're just deciding the direction of our neighborhood. Is it becoming more residential? Will we start converting that way? Or will it become more industrial and clash with the school? So I hope you'll reject this special exception. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fraley. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
yeah, go ahead, Ben.
This is Councilman Ben Chenese. I'm here once again to speak in my opposition of this application. As is mentioned before, this whole area is beginning to change with the recent school being purchased and that being converted to once again to an RA 40 zone. The whole area is reverting back to a residential style of a neighborhood. And this project here, since it's a special exception, will not fit that that ongoing build that the city wants to portray. So I hope again, you once again will reject this application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chianese. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay. Jennifer, what are we waiting for again? Forgive me, I should know this.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, we are waiting for comments from the traffic engineer. I just double checked. I thought we had them, but we don't. So I will be speaking with our traffic engineer tomorrow to see where he is with his review. You know, Dynas needs an opportunity to submit the revisions. At this point, he has planning and zoning. The engineering department comments were received yesterday. Construction services have been received. So, you know, we need to allow Dynas the opportunity to make those revisions and get them back to staff for review and presentation to the commission. So we're still within our first 35 days. So, you know, we're fine with time.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, committee members, if there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing.
I'll make the motion to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to continue the public hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This matter will be continued.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dynas and everyone else. Thank you very much for your participation. Commission members, we have nothing under old business, no referrals, unbelievably, and nothing under correspondence, other matters. So unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
night.
Good night.
Night.
Good.